Hello, I'm Greg with Brownlow Rights. I just wanted to do a quick video today on something that it's very nice and refreshing to see the industry kind of waking up on. And it's the concept of barrel break-in or early barrel life. Early barrel life is not to be trusted. Any of you that's ever spoken with me about a new barrel or a new rifle, you've heard me say, hey, don't trust this thing until it's got like 250 or 300 rounds on it. And the reason for that is this early barrel behavior. Now, the most common realization that many of you have come to is that a brand new barrel, they oftentimes don't give you the kind of velocities that you want. And in order to get that kind of velocity, you really got to pour the powder to them. And then they pressure out oftentimes early. And so even if you start stacking powder in there, it's going to tear your brass up because it's just not giving you the velocity that you want. And this is something that has puzzled many of you that I've spoken with. And I think it's good to recognize a couple of things here. It's not just the fact that the barrel is new. That means all of the surfaces in there are sharp. They just got cut. So they were rifled. The gunsmith did the chambering work, and it's all very fresh in there. So sharp edges everywhere. And this is true regardless of your rifling profile. A good barrel's a good barrel. A good chamber job's a good chamber job. And it doesn't really matter what the configuration of these things are for most instances. This new barrel life then, why is it doing that? Well, there hasn't been any fouling laid down in that thing. So it's very sticky. There is a bunch of little imperfections that need to get filled up, and I'm not going to belabor and bore you guys with this too much on the why this is happening. I just want to emphasize that it's happening. When these barrels are new, they're very tight, and that tightness is not just in the scratchiness or the sharpness of all of the surfaces in there, but it's also the diameter. Keep in mind, if you have ever watched the video that I did on why barrels actually wear out, you'll see that it's a pressure cycle thing that happens. So when these barrels are new, they're getting kind of hit with pressure for the very first time. And this barrel steel isn't trained yet on what to do. So it's not just the surface lubricity that's changing as a function of that kind of alligator skin. Some people call it fire cracking, the pressure cracking, that dry lake bed geography that happens inside these barrels. Depending on the cartridge and which bullets you're shooting, there is a different amount of rounds that it'll take to get this geography put in there. But the point is, once we have that feature in there, we'll have a more gradual building of the pressure. And so the pressure characteristic that happens during the firing event, it's not just the maximum pressure, but it's the pressure across time. So the shape and nature of the pressure curve. You guys have heard me talk about that here before. There's a very specific place where that all works right. And during early barrel life, this changes rapidly. New barrels, oftentimes the ones that end up being my best barrels, will do this almost like clockwork. So they don't shoot good straight out of the gate. I have trouble finding a bullet that they like. But then, once I get about 150 to 225 rounds on them, somewhere in that range, never before 100 rounds, but it's always 175, 200, 225 rounds, somewhere in there, the barrel comes alive. And all of a sudden, it wouldn't like any of the bullets that I was throwing at it when it was new. No powders. I couldn't find anything that would really shoot great. Maybe I could find something that would shoot acceptably so I can get some rounds on the barrel. Well, then after the round count reaches that maturity, all of a sudden it shoots everything well. It almost can't be made to shoot bad at all. Now, many of you would think, oh, I don't want that. I want my barrel to shoot right all the time. Well, it's never going to shoot right during those early barrel life rounds, okay? Inside of 200 rounds, you can't trust these barrels at all. They're going to pick up velocity oftentimes. So from round number 1 to round number 300, you'll see somewhere between 75 and 150 foot per second of velocity gain. And that is just on average across every cartridge that I have ever worked with, every barrel, not every barrel, but 99% of the barrels that I have worked with have exhibited this velocity gain in some manner or the next. And so you're not going to be able to stay on top of this thing when it's an ever-moving target anyways. Again, my previous videos, I talked at length about this. But it's nice to see some folks in the industry start waking up to this, start putting content out about it, about this early barrel life shift. So as the barrel heats up, the bore diameter is increasing. The pressure characteristic, the curve over time of how the pressure is happening gets altered. And what we see is that a brand new, very tight barrel is oftentimes not going to produce a desirable curve to work with all of the industry standard components out there, because this is a system. So as the barrel heats up, not only does the behavior and resonance of the barrel steel change slightly, the raw geometry of the barrel actually changes. So as we heat that steel up, the barrel grows in diameter. The bore diameter grows. This is not something that you should be alarmed by, because all this means is that when this barrel finally gets broke in, it is going to be a laser beam, because its final condition, when it's done with the first couple hundred rounds, whenever it finally settles in, it's just going to shoot like that. Now, folks, I don't know about you, but if I had my choice between having a barrel that shot crazy good for the first 200 rounds and then was really hard to wrangle after that and was just maybe a little more finicky, or if I could have one that was finicky for the first couple hundred rounds and then the rest of the barrel's life was super forgiving and easy to get along with, I know which one I would pick, okay? I'm looking for a barrel that is very forgiving and easy to get along with, allows me to shoot the bullets that I want at the velocities that the cartridge is rated for, and I want to do that for the majority of the barrel's life. You guys know that I've been talking about this barrel life thing here for the last 13 years, 14 years on YouTube. But despite that fact, I am very happy that more creators and more businesses, more different people are starting to wake up to the fact that these early barrel life conclusions that people are drawing are extremely faulty. This is knowledge that needs to get pushed out there, folks. Like we need to have a change in the mindset of every single precision rifle shooter. They shouldn't be looking for the rifle to deliver apex level performance until it has 250 rounds on it, 200 at least, because there's too much that's changing there. You're going to be chasing your tail way too much if you're taking it too seriously too early. So just get some rounds on these things. It's not an uncommon thing for me to have a barrel that's shooting really great with one set of components during early barrel life, but then as I approach the fully rung in, broken in barrel condition, then it all of a sudden won't like those components at all. That happened recently with a 7 Norma Mag Improved I was shooting. It was just loving 180 grain burgers and H1000. And by the time I got 175 rounds on it, it started hating it, and I had to move to 195s and Rotumbo. And the rifle shoots 1s and 2s. It's crazy accurate, but it wouldn't have been if I'd have stuck with those components. The same thing happened with my 22 BRA that you guys saw the video of, right? That reptile patterned 22 BRA that I've shown on the channel here a bunch. That one started out, and the only bullet that it really liked was the 70 grain burgers. I couldn't get anything else to shoot in it. Well, I put like 250 rounds on it, and I started testing a lot of the bullets that I tested when the barrel was early, and it loved them all. Again, same situation. Rifle shot relatively poor early and didn't like much in the way of different components, but then came to love everything and routinely shoots in the 1s and 2s now. And it'll do that with lots of different bullets. And again, you guys have seen proof of that yourself here on this channel. Now, just yesterday, I talked to another customer, and he had a 300 PRC, and it's just kind of misbehaving on him. There's lots of things that it could be, but I found out it only has like 135 rounds on it. And folks, that's like right in the middle of the worst place for this transition. So as the rifle's new, you might not see a lot of changes for the first 50 or 75 rounds. But that 75 to 150 round zone, that is one of the worst places that you can be in with a barrel. And I don't care what cartridge, we're talking about, or what combination of components. So folks, just don't get discouraged by these new barrels. Don't get discouraged by any of the performance that you see with new rifles, new barrels. Now, if you get 250, 300 rounds, 400 rounds on a barrel, and the smith that you had do the work says that, well, I don't want to take that barrel back, you've basically shot the thing up. Let's say it's a 22 Creedmoor and you got like 1,200 rounds worth of barrel life. Well, why is he going to replace it now? I'll give you a new barrel. You already put a bunch of rounds on this one. Okay, if you're dealing with a guy like that, find yourself a new smith, because the rifles either shoot or they don't shoot. And not every one of these barrels is good, folks. And you know the only way that we can tell whether a barrel is good or not? Chamber it and put it on an action and go shoot. Okay? So there's very little to be done about this whole thing other than just go shoot. Put rounds on this thing. If you can't get it to behave itself between rounds 300 and 400, you know you got a problem. But you can't declare a bad barrel just because you shot 1 or 2 bullets through the thing either. You have to do your diligence. You have to do the proper work. And before I declare a bad barrel, I've got at least 6 or 8 different bullets with 6 or 8 different powders through it. Usually more than that. 10 different bullets and 10 different powders. If I can't get something to come together after that, well then, yeah, probably I'm dealing with a bad barrel. There's a lot of you out there that are complaining about a rifle and a barrel, and you've got 80 rounds on the thing, and you have tried literally one combination of components. Please do your diligence there and use a little common sense. It's great when rifles bug hole right out of the gate, and it's awesome if they stay doing that over time. But if you got a brand new one that's not throwing bug holes right away, you might have to work at it a little bit to find the components or the ammo that it likes. And maybe it just won't like anything until you get 200 rounds on the thing. Don't be surprised if you see that, because it's something I've seen for my entire career. Most of you need to go shoot more anyway. So go have fun, shoot your barrel, and only worry about its performance after you've got like 300 rounds on it. Because if it doesn't shoot after that, yeah, you might legitimately have a problem there. And just remember, folks, the truth that I share with you in these videos is just a gift that was given to me, because the experiences that I've been allowed to have by our Creator are the only reason that I've seen this stuff and I have been presented with this information in the first place. And my sharing it here with you is just me doing what I can to say thank you to him for allowing me to have these experiences. So if you haven't picked up a Bible and read that lately, make sure you go and do that, because I wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for him and the blessings that he's put on my life. And I would wish that kind of joy for all of you out there. So make sure you pick up a Bible and go get some reading of the scripture done yourself. I thank you for watching this, and I hope you have a blessed and wonderful week.